Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, y'all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought that once again I would give my little fight prediction and my fight breakdown and my fight preview of the very decent fight that is going to be happening this weekend. Actually, there is a good double header, I believe, this weekend. I believe that this fight occurs on Top Rank. If it isn't on Top Rank, then it's on the Zone. But this is going to be the big women's boxing fight or women's boxing fight between that of Savannah Marshall and Claressa Shields. I'm very decently excited for this fight. I've seen certain people comment in my comment section when I give my fight prediction or talking about this on other videos or just talking about it on other channels or other videos as well. And certain people may think that Claressa Shields is going to dominate Savannah Marshall. I've seen certain people think that Savannah Marshall is going to dominate Claressa Shields. I truly think that this is a fight that could really go either way. I think that both women overall, when it comes down to it, have certain qualities that they could use to their advantage in order to beat and capitalize on the weaknesses of that of the other fighter. And I think that this truly is a 50-50 fight. I do not believe that this is a 60-40 fight. I do not believe that this is a 70-30 fight. I believe that this is a true 50-50 fight. I would not be surprised, in my opinion, whichever woman were to win this fight. Before I end up going into this fight, I will give you guys also my prediction of the Michaela Mayer or Meyer, whatever her name is. I believe she's American, and also the what the hell's that other girl's name? Alicia Baumgardner or whatever the hell her name is. Just to give you my quick prediction, or at least all in all, my short little mini analysis. Who do I believe is going to win that fight? I believe that more than likely Michaela Mayer is going to win that fight. From what I've seen of Alicia Baumgardner, she is decently slick. She's got good power and she's got good speed. She overall tries to be a slickster, but a big problem with her is that she almost never has her hands up. And the one fight that she did end up losing in her career, even against a fighter that was plodding forward, she had a very horrible time with because she was not keeping her hands up within that fight. And all in all, she was getting hit by a great amount of counters, especially a good overhand right or a right cross from what I've seen. Well, the Micaiah Meyer, from what I've seen, loves to throw a good left hook while keeping her hands up and a right hand. She doesn't always necessarily have the quickest head movement. She isn't necessarily Floyd Mayweather Jr. with her defense, but her defense is more apparent than that overall of an Alicia Baumgardner. I believe that I'm pronouncing her name right. So, in my view, more than likely, I think that Michaela Mayer is going to win that fight by unanimous decision. Could be a split decision. Wouldn't be surprised if the fight was close. But if I had to guess, I think that Michaela Mayer, in my view, is more than likely going to win the fight. Probably anywhere from 6 rounds to 4, since I believe that women's title fights, I believe that they're not 12 rounds. I believe that they're 10. But if someone, wants to correct me on that, if I'm wrong about that, someone correct me. I believe that more than likely, if it is a 10-round fight, just like I am thinking, more than likely she's going to win the fight anywhere from 6 rounds to 4, maybe even 7 rounds to 3, maybe even more than that. I think that Alicia Baumgardner, I think that maybe she'll win about 3 rounds, but I would maybe have to do a little bit more investigating. But from what I have seen of both fighters, I believe that Michaela Mayer, I believe that she has the better defense. I think that she's not afraid to put on the pressure. Baumgardner does have decent power, but if she is going to face a fighter that puts on a little bit of pressure because of her very, very irresponsible defense and her lack of defense, I think that Michaela Mayer is going to put on decent pressure, and I think it's going to make Baumgardner very uncomfortable. But we'll see overall what ends up happening. I could see that fight easily going either way as well. But now to talk about the main event. Now to talk about the main women of the hour, Miss Savannah Marshall and Miss Claressa Shields. Who do I personally believe is going to win this fight? I still am going to keep the same prediction as what I had a few weeks ago when this fight was supposed to happen once originally, or maybe about a month ago. I can't necessarily remember at this point overall, but of course the fight was postponed because of Queen Elizabeth's death that in the UK, and this fight is happening in the UK, so it was postponed. I'm still going to go with Claressa Shields by unanimous or split decision, but this truly is a fight that could potentially go either way. Why am I picking Claressa Shields to win necessarily? Just mainly because of two factors. Not only her hand speed, but also her ability to fight and be a little bit more rougher in that of the clinch. Claressa Shields overall in this fight, in my view, what she's going to have to do in order to beat that of Savannah Marshall, she really has to get her respect early, and she needs to keep her respect throughout the fight. That's not me saying that at times maybe you don't want to fight a little bit more on the back foot, but if you're mainly going to be fighting Savannah Marshall on the back foot, if you're Claressa Shields in this fight, who I believe is about 3 inches shorter and has a 4-inch reach disadvantage over that of Savannah Marshall. If Claressa Shields is going to back up the whole entire time against Savannah Marshall, in my opinion, she is going to lose. And not only is she going to lose, she probably is going to get stopped in the fight. If she ends up backing up the whole entire time, she cannot beat Savannah Marshall by backing up the whole entire time. It just is what it is. Now, Savannah Marshall, in my opinion, what are the certain weaknesses that I think that Claressa Shields can exploit? The only few weaknesses that I really see from Savannah Marshall is that A, I don't think that she fights as much in the clinch. Not that she's not a good clinch fighter, but I think that when she's in the clinch, if you remember Andre SOG Ward when he used to fight, when he had a certain amount of the fighters in the clinch, he used to land these little punches either to the body or to the head on the inside, some of them being a little bit more impactful, some of them not being as impactful. And the only fighter that, for whatever reason, was usually willing to exchange with him in those categories was Mr. Sergey Kovalev. Do I think that, Savannah Marshall has the capability of fighting with her in the clinch? In my opinion, she's going to absolutely have to. She's going to have to land those punches, whether they are looked at as pity pat punches in her mind or not. She's going to have to land those punches. Not everyone is always focused on those type of punches because sometimes they're looked at as pity pat punches, and sometimes the judges can look at them that way. But just to be safe, in my opinion, Savannah Marshall, she is going to have to land those little body shots, just like what Claressa Shields is going to do. So it is going to be very particularly interesting. One thing I will say overall is this, though. Once again, the reason why I'm picking Claressa Shields is because I am guessing, I am assuming, but I could easily see this going either way, that she will be the busier fighter and that her hand speed will give her the slight edge in this fight. The slight edge. But I could easily see Savannah Marshall pulling this off for the various reasons. First of all, when I take a look at Savannah Marshall, what she really reminds me of in terms of a fighter, if I were going to compare her, she almost reminds me of a weaker version of a Tyson Fury. Not quite as quick as what a Tyson Fury is, and probably all in all not as good as what he is, but that's what she kind of reminds me of. When you take a look at Tyson Fury before he fought a Deontay Wilder or a Vladimir Klitschko, no one really took a look at Tyson Fury like he was super duper special. He's a little bit flabby. He doesn't seem to be the quickest when it comes down to it. Sometimes he can even come off as a little bit slow or uncoordinated. But every time that he was in a big fight, he always showed up to the best of his potential. Because Tyson Fury not only has decent size, and not only all in all is a great all-around athlete, he also is a very, very skilled individual fighter. And on top of that, he has very, very high boxing IQ. Tyson Fury truly is one of the greatest heavyweights that I've personally seen. Probably the greatest heavyweight that I've ever seen, at least during my time of watching boxing with my own two eyes. But of course, I only grew up within the Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, Vladimir Klitschko era. So Tyson Fury, in my view, he was clearly the best out of any of those fighters. When you talk about Savannah Marshall, just like Tyson Fury, she likes to work behind the jab, the lead left-hand jab. She also likes to work behind the right hand. She can fight a little bit in the clinch. In my opinion, Claressa Shields is a little bit better in the clinch. But one thing I will say about Savannah Marshall is this. She is going to have more punching power than Claressa Shields in this fight. Not saying that Claressa Shields, in my opinion, that she doesn't have any power. I think that she has enough power, even though she doesn't have a high knockout ratio. But her power will be enough to scare off Savannah Marshall in certain situations if Savannah Marshall is not willing to exchange or if she does not keep her hands up. However, what I will say is this. Savannah Marshall is definitely the fighter, and certain people may disagree with this. Certain people believe that just because a fighter fights on the back foot and they look slick, that means that they have decent defense. Claressa Shields almost has no defense whatsoever. That's not me saying that she does not slip and dodge certain punches. Just because you move out of the way of punches doesn't necessarily mean that that's defense. What that is, in my opinion, well, you could count it as slight defense, but she has good head movement. But in terms of blocking punches, in terms of keeping her hands up consistently, Claressa Shields has never been known for that. In fact, I believe even once or twice in her career, she's been knocked down because she got hit by a flush shot because she does not like to keep her hands up. If Savannah Marshall, in my opinion, is a little bit like Tyson Fury, what Claressa Shields reminds me of, she reminds me of a lower tier Keith Thurman. That's what she reminds me of. She oftentimes will swing punches, relying overall on her speed advantage and her athleticism, but there is certain flaws that she does have. Savannah Marshall, in my opinion, in order to win this fight, you have the 4-inch reach advantage over Claressa Shields. You have the better defense, in my opinion. You have a 4-inch reach advantage. You're taller than her and slightly lengthier than her. You're going to have to use your jab. You're going to have to use that height and that reach to your advantage. More than likely, in my opinion, Claressa Shields is probably going to start off the fight maybe a little bit slower. She could come out, guns blazing. You never know. But more than likely, Claressa Shields in the beginning rounds, I see being a little bit more careful. And then more than likely, she's going to try to go balls to the wall, and she's going to try to scare you with her ferocity. She's going to try to scare you with her speed and with her power. And in my opinion, if Savannah Marshall wants to counter that, she's going to have to use a lot of lateral movement. She's going to have to move side to side. She's going to have to stay out of the corners. She's also going to have to use that lead hand a lot in this fight. Once again, you have a 4-inch reach advantage over Claressa Shields. You have the better defense, in my opinion. Is Savannah Marshall as fast in terms of her hand speed or her combo work as what Claressa Shields is? No, she's not as fast as what Claressa Shields is, but she has great accuracy. And that's the good thing about Savannah Marshall. So if Savannah Marshall is going to win this fight, you have to keep that lead hand in Claressa Shields' face for the majority of the fight, really in all the fight. Just like Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder. In fact, if Savannah Marshall is going to win this fight, she has to fight Claressa Shields exactly how Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder in his previous 2 matches. Savannah Marshall mainly has to be the pressure fighter here. She has to put, Claressa Shields, in my opinion, somewhat on the back foot. And Claressa, in my view, is going to have to do that a little bit as well. But if Savannah Marshall is mainly going to win this fight, the lead hand is going to be the answer in this fight. And not only the lead hand is going to be the answer in this fight, what also is going to be the answer is how well you fight Claressa Shields in the clinch. Because that is really the only main weakness to why I'm picking Claressa Shields in this fight. Because I'm not quite sure if she's going to fight as good in the clinch as what a Claressa Shields does. She is going to have to take advantage of that. So just like you've seen Tyson Fury fight Deontay Wilder, every time they were in the clinch, you've seen Tyson Fury leaning on him. You've seen him getting in little, dirty boxing shots, such as body shots. You've seen him overall go up to the head. That's what Savannah Marshall is going to also have to try to do, because Claressa Shields is going to have to do that all night long as well. And she usually does do that. Now, in terms of the ranged boxing, more than likely Savannah Marshall is going to have the advantage in that category. So Claressa Shields, once again, if she plans on backing up the whole entire time against Savannah Marshall and outboxing her in terms of countering her, that's not going to work. Because once again, Savannah Marshall has a 4-inch reach advantage. She is the taller fighter, she is the lengthier fighter, and she's the bigger fighter. And we also need to talk about the X factor in this fight with Savannah Marshall. She seems to have really good A-grade power. Almost very excruciating power. Every fighter that I've seen Claressa Shields fight that Savannah Marshall has fought, she's usually stopped them in less than half of the time. Now, does that always mean that, that other fighter has that advantage? No. But one thing I will say is this: whoever the winner is going to be in this fight, in my opinion, it's going to be all in all which fighter is not intimidated by the other fighter's power. So if Claressa Shields is intimidated early by Savannah Marshall's power, or if she becomes intimidated and starts backing up, she pretty much is going to lose the fight. And not only is she going to lose the fight, in my opinion, there's a very decent chance that she could get stopped, just like Deontay Wilder did against Tyson Fury. Not saying that, she may end up on her back or anything like that, but she very well could get stopped. Savannah Marshall, in my opinion, is not going to get stopped in this fight, but she does overall need to show Claressa Shields that, listen, you're not going to intimidate me with your little flurries. You're not going to intimidate me with your speed. You're not going to intimidate me with your power. I have good power shots of my own. And even if you do get inside my range, even if you do get inside, I'm going to show you that either A, I can hit you with certain angles, that I can move off on certain angles, that I can use my feet to move in and out. And even if you do try to fight me on the inside, I'm going to keep my hands up and I'm going to counter you with very devastating shots. And that's what Savannah Marshall is also going to have to do. Claressa Shields, what she mainly likes to do, she mainly likes to go in there with the jab, with her head tilted a little bit towards the right from what I noticed, which oftentimes is what you want to do when you throw a jab or something like that, because it somewhat keeps your head out of the way. Savannah Marshall, what she may want to do is maybe go to Claressa Shields' left in order not to run into that right hand, because that's mainly what Claressa Shields is going to do. She's mainly going to try to push Savannah Marshall back. She's going to try to land that whopping left hook. She's also going to try to land a good swinging right hand, but she can get a little bit crazy and a little bit too wild with the flurries. So what Savannah Marshall needs to do is overall fight going backwards. While she's going backwards, she needs to keep that jab in her face. Sometimes you need to keep that hand in her face and use it not only, as a detector, but you also need to keep it in her face to overall, maybe what overall is the word that I'm looking for? Overall to set up certain traps. Just like what Tyson Fury did against Deontay Wilder, or what Floyd Mayweather used to do against some of his opponents, or Bernard Hopkins, or Vasily Lomachenko. Stick that lead hand in her face. That way she may not see certain punches incoming. Stick that lead hand in her face and try to get a right hand to the body. Try to get a right hand to the face. Now, Savannah Marshall, another thing that she's also going to have to do in this fight, in my opinion, is that her feet are going to have to be a little bit quicker than what they normally are. I think that she has good feet overall for what she has, and I think all in all that usually she adjusts the tempo very decently well. But Claressa Shields, in my opinion, is the quicker fighter. And how you have to beat quickness is that you have to overall establish distance very decently well. And on top of that, you have to follow someone of her pace. Now, that's not me saying all in all that, you fight Claressa Shields on the inside. That's not what I'm saying. But wherever Claressa Shields goes, you somewhat have to go to as well. So basically, if she keeps moving in and out, you cannot stay in the same place. You cannot attack from the same range. You have to overall go somewhat to where she is going to go. So if she plans on going in, you have to back up. And then as soon as she backs up, then overall you have to go a little bit forward. You have to overall make it a little bit of a tag matchup. That's almost what you have to try to do. Kind of like what you've seen Tyson Fury do against Deontay Wilder. That's why I keep on saying, if Savannah Marshall is going to win this fight, she's going to have to do the exact same things as what Tyson Fury did against Deontay Wilder. She has to fight exactly like that. She has to bother Claressa Shields in the clinch. She has to move in and out when she needs to, but she also needs to mainly put on the pressure. As for Miss Claressa Shields, what do I think that she mainly needs to do? I think that she needs to go to a body attack early, and I think that Savannah Marshall needs a body attack as well, and I'll talk about that here in a few minutes if I need to. Claressa Shields, in my opinion, needs to start off with that jab to the body. I think that trying to headhunt Savannah Marshall is not the way to go. She has very decent head movement. She can parry decently well. She can slip punches very well. She has a decent shoulder roll. So I don't think that headhunting Savannah Marshall, especially when she has a 4-inch reach advantage over you, I don't think that that's going to go very well. On top of that, Claressa Shields, once again, she is going to have to get her respect very early on. So I think a body attack would just be what the doctor ordered. You need to move in and out, but on top of that, you also need to try to surprise Savannah Marshall at certain angles. The one weakness, even though I think Savannah Marshall has improved on this, is that when certain people go to her side and they change angles on her, especially out of the clinch or in close range, she may have a little bit of problems adjusting to that type of speed when someone tries to go to the side of her, or when someone all in all tries to change angles on her. Now, in my opinion, Savannah Marshall, at least from what I've seen, she has adjusted to this a little bit. She uses her feet well, and she uses her distance well. So Claressa Shields, she's going to have to try to surprise her, and if she does move off, then you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to go for an attack, and then you're going to have to try to quickly get out of there, because Savannah Marshall will attack overall when she feels like she's being attacked. I think that even under pressure or when a fighter comes straight at her, Savannah Marshall adjusts very decently well. She will stick that lead hand in her face and she'll try to land that right hand. She'll also try to land a very good left hook. And that comes to another slight weakness that I think Savannah Marshall has. I think that out of both fighters, sometimes their punches can be a little bit more sloppy than what they need to be. But I think that Claressa Shields has the tighter punches of the two, especially on the inside. So Savannah Marshall is going to have to tighten up her punches, especially her left hook and especially some of her inside blows, like her uppercuts and some of her left hooks, because sometimes, in my opinion, they're not as tight as what they need to be, which can sacrifice the speed and also can somewhat advertise your punches. So she does need to be careful with that in this fight. Excuse me. But Claressa Shields, in my opinion, I'm going to go with her just to a slight degree. I'm going to say that more than likely she wins this fight 6 rounds to 4, or if it's a 12-round fight, 7 rounds to 5. I'm going to say that she wins this just ever so slightly, but I would not be surprised if Savannah Marshall was able to win this fight. This is truly a very, very 50-50 fight. It is a razor-thin close fight, in my opinion. Razor blade thin close fight. In my opinion, once again, what is Savannah Marshall going to have to do? Attack her with that lead hand. Use your feet to move in and out of range, just like what you've seen Tyson Fury do against Deontay Wilder. do not afraid to try and bully Claressa Shields within the clinch, because she is certainly going to try to do that to you. Move her around. You're the bigger fighter of the two. Try to impose your will against her. Try to impose your size. Once again, all in all, when you're in the clinch, keep your hands up, keep your defense up. Overall, get a good left hook in there to the body and to the head. Claressa Shields will get will get hit with a left hook overall in there, here and there. So Savannah Marshall, her defense is going to have to be very stout here. And when it comes down to it, her feet, she's also going to have to use a lot in this fight, because she is going to have to establish distance against Claressa Shields the whole entire time. If Savannah Marshall thinks that she's just going to let Claressa Shields get in there, and if they're both on the inside range and she's going to beat Claressa Shields on the inside, that's not going to happen, because Claressa Shields is very decent on the inside and she's faster than you. So what Savannah Marshall is going to have to do is that she's going to have to try to establish distance. And yes, you can still go on the inside with Claressa Shields here and there, but don't try to compete with her hand speed. That's not going to work. What Savannah Marshall is going to have to do is that she's going to have to back up here and there, or move in and out using the range, using her feet. And at times she'll have to impose that lead hand right in her face, blind Claressa Shields, try to land a good counter shot, and also get a body attack in there early. Also use your jab and vary it. Jab it to the body very early on and jab upstairs. Do a 1-2, whether it's a jab overall to the body and then a right to the head, jab to the head, right hand to the head, or a jab to the head and then a right hand to the body. Throw a good a good 1-2-3. A jab cross jab, or throw in a jab cross left hook. Claressa Shields will get hit with some of those combinations. She does at times get hit, with the left hook, and she will sometimes get hit with the right hand. So Savannah Marshall, in my opinion, has everything in her power to beat Claressa Shields. The question will be, does she have the fight IQ overall to perform that well against someone like a Claressa Shields? And on top of that, will Claressa Shields' experience and will her hand speed show through? And will she be intimidated by someone like Claressa Shields' power? Now, of course, many years ago, from what I've seen, or from what I've both heard and seen, Savannah Marshall was able to beat her in the Olympics. But I've seen many fighters been able to beat someone in the Olympics and then they were not able to do it in the professionals. I've seen it dozens and dozens of times. So that does not mean that Savannah Marshall is going to win this just because she won in the Olympics. But that, in my opinion, is what Savannah Marshall is going to have to do. Establish a body attack very early on. Try to be the one that pressures Claressa Shields. But if she comes in at you, don't just try to fight her on the inside. You're going to have to establish range. And then once overall you establish range or back up and notice all in all that Claressa is not really in your zone, then you try to hit her with body shots. Then you try to hit her overall with certain shots. You have to overall establish distance. You also are going to have to fight on the back foot a certain amount of the times in this fight and also pressure her. What I'm saying is that basically there's going to be times where you're going to have to use that lead hand to where you're backing up and you're going to have to throw it right in her face and set up certain counters right on the back foot. And there's also going to be times to where you want to make her uncomfortable. Now, 75% of the time in this fight, Savannah Marshall is going to have to be the one pushing forward in this fight. She could, maybe fight on the back foot, trying to outbox Claressa Shields. But in my opinion, if she just backs up the whole entire time, that's not going to work. Because Claressa Shields, she's just too quick, in my opinion. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it somehow worked. But in my opinion, Claressa is a little bit too quick. And I think the best way to make her uncomfortable is to try and pressure her. But, we'll end up seeing overall what ends up happening here. Claressa, in order to win this fight, in my opinion, she is going to have to push forward a little bit more than Savannah Marshall, more than likely, in this fight. She's also going to have to use her feet. Keep your hands up, which, unfortunately for her, she does not usually do very, very well. Watch out overall for the lead hand in this fight. Overall, get a good early body attack in there. Watch out for that right hand. Also, watch out for the left hook on the inside, because Savannah Marshall, more than likely, is going to throw it. Whoever wins this fight, in my opinion, it's mainly going to come down to a few things. A, who is better fighting in the clinch, or who's willing to impose their strength or their size or their hand speed or their inside fighting in the clinch. Not even just when they throw certain exchanges. B, all in all, whoever reacts to whose power, in a more degrading way, or, I shouldn't say degrading way, but whoever has a fear of the other woman's power a little bit more. So if Savannah Marshall backs off early on because she can't handle Claressa Shields' power, she's going to lose this fight. And if Claressa does the same, she's more than likely going to lose the fight. So it's going to be very particularly interesting. And the last thing that I would say is who's going to use their feet and their movement a little bit better. I'm going to give Claressa Shields the very slight edge in this fight just because of her hand speed and maybe of slight experience in the professionals. But I wouldn't be surprised if Savannah Marshall won this fight at all. This is a true 50-50 fight. It probably is even closer than what I once originally thought. So I'm going to go with Claressa Shields by that of unanimous decision or by that of split decision. But I wouldn't be surprised if it went the other way either. This truly is going to be a very interesting fight. Now, also to talk about the pound for pound and what I think all in all, who is going to be where in terms of the pound for pound list in women's boxing with whoever wins this fight. Well, whoever wins this fight, in my opinion, will have a debate as the number one pound for pound. But in my view, because of what Katie Taylor has accomplished, I more than likely would put the winner of this fight at number two, whether it be Savannah Marshall or Claressa Shields, just because Katie Taylor, not only has she accomplished a whole lot, but on top of that, Katie Taylor, she just got the biggest win in women's boxing history with their last fight against Amanda Serrano, and she's undefeated and also a gold medalist. So Katie Taylor is no joke whatsoever. But if Claressa were to win this fight because of what she's accomplished, no doubt about it, certainly could be number two, could be number one or number two. I already have Claressa Shields at number two right now. If Savannah Marshall were to win this fight, I would probably say that she would be a number two. But if you were to debate her at number one, wouldn't have a problem with that either. I think that Claressa would have a better argument for number one pound for pound if she were to win this fight more than Marshall would, just because of what she's accomplished. But I could see either argument. But anyways, this is going to be a really interesting doubleheader. It's going to be a very interesting fight. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, that's really about it for today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later.